Welcome to the Great Enablement Podcast. And today we're doing a little short segment on some questions that have came up in personal conversations with Carl, but also through discussions with you guys, the audience. So these are some of the questions that all of you have probably been thinking about, but never really had much of a lengthy conversation around. And today, in a short segment, we just want to dive into these questions and really give our 2 cents. So, with that being said, Carl, take it away with the questions.
All right, perfect. Today in the world, there's a lot of discussions around, is online learning the best route? Is college the best route? People drop out and so on and so forth. There's a lot of people excelling, right, without traditional college. So my question to you is going to college a waste of time?
I'm not gonna lie to you, I did think it was at first. However, what I realize is it's not really a waste of time. Anything is what you really make. You can make anything like good or anything bad, right? So it's not a waste of time because it's about
Mm.
how intentional you're being with that time that you're spending there. So if you think that going to college and only studying and only showing up to class and nothing else, like when I say nothing else, like not getting involved in extracurriculars, not making relationships with your professors or even your peers, because I've seen a lot of people, go into college and say, "Oh, nah, I'm not here to make friends, this, that, the third, or whatever." Forgetting the fact that these aren't going to be your friends for so long. These could potentially be your future employers or maybe even your future coworkers. So it's not a waste of time. It truly is what you make it. So if you're wasting your time and you're not making the most of your experience, then yeah, it's going to be a waste of your time. But for me, in my personal experience, I don't think it was a waste of time at all. And I think that it was actually very valuable and worth the investment.
Yeah, man, I agree with that. I feel like it's a great platform for folks to explore, dive into their interests, join a lot of different groups, extracurricular wise, try out courses and so on and so forth. But it's all about framing, right?
Yep.
How are you able to frame your approach to university? Is it I'm going to be, pigeonholed, single minded, and do just one thing? Or am I going to explore my interests and dive into those as best as possible? So, okay.
Exactly.
Solid take, man. Solid take. So, second question that I have for you is we talked a lot about personal branding on our platform, right?
Mhm.
Personal marketing and how are you supposed to put yourself out there? What are the best ways or most effective ways to put yourself out there while being intentional about your appearance, behavior, and communication? So, in a world where we live online, right, in the digital age and so on and so forth, the question that I have for you is are you irrelevant without a personal brand?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, you are completely irrelevant without a personal brand. Let me tell you why. Without a personal brand, nobody knows what you do. Nobody knows, not only what you do, but like how you two align, and also without you having that personal brand, like you are like in this day and age, you'll just start to lose credibility. You'll start to see that folks who are way less qualified than you are doing the things that you want to do just because they have the personal brand.
Hmm.
Having a personal brand unlocks a whole world of opportunities for you. And for me, myself, I can speak to this because, even me at the smallest level, having a personal brand, having everybody knows that, I'm corporate, I went to university, I
Hmm.
was in the student groups, I was in this, and I'm in sales and all that stuff. So everybody already kind of has those quick little things down about me. And so that's how I'm able to attract certain opportunities that align in that way or attract like-minded folks. But when I look at some folks who don't have a personal brand, sometimes they don't actually get any of that, and they just don't realize that not having that personal brand is actually closing them off from the world. So
Interesting. Yeah, man. I think it's a great point of leverage, right?
exactly.
We often say, we host workshops, and I usually tell folks, you have the opportunity to duplicate yourself, but you decide not to do so,
Yeah.
right? So I'm big on personal branding, but I think
Define duplicate yourself.
so. These digital tools allow us to be present in multiple places at once by creating content, for example. right? By having a good digital landing page online, right? When people look you up, what comes up first? Does it answer the questions who you are, what you do, and how you can help? What that value proposition is, right? So that's what I mean by duplicating yourself.
Mm.
Are you creating IP, intellectual property, that allows you to push your thought leadership or your ideas forward in a space where you're not necessarily present at all times?
Yeah.
That's what I mean by duplicating yourself. Because yes, you will be online, through your content, but you'll also be in person somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? So when I say that it gives a good point of leverage for people, is that it allows for people to market you when you're not in the room, right? It allows people to have reference points for you when you're not in the room, and that's how over time opportunities come to you. But on the other end, I know being online is not for everybody, right? I know that some folks would rather, be behind the scenes, play in the dark, and so on and so forth. So personal branding is not limited to online, though. This also applies to offline. But how are you being intentional in terms of building your brand on offline, right? How are you treating the people around you? What is the experience like working with you? Yeah, right. People know this. I've been an international fashion model for about 6 years now, right? And one of the biggest reasons why people work with me is because they enjoy the experience, right? What is it like to work with Karl?
Yeah.
That's the biggest selling point. That has nothing to do with all the other work I do online and so on
Yeah.
and so forth, right? So really being intentional in terms of how do people feel when they have conversations with you? How do people feel when your name comes up in conversations? So that's really another extent of personal brand. But at the end of the day, whether you're doing it online or offline, it's always about being intentional. Yeah.
I couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah, man. Sweet. So, third question that I have for you right here. We talk a lot about, there's a lot of layoffs going on right now. The economy, we know that by 2030, a lot of jobs are going to be replaced because of automation, artificial intelligence, technological innovation, and so on and so forth, right? But the biggest people that are at risk, arguably, are employees, right?
Like the 9 to 5ers.
9 to 5ers and so on and so forth. So for people who are solely working in 9 to 5, question that I have for you is, do you feel like working a 9 to 5 stifles your personal growth and ambition?
No, honestly, in some cases, working a 9 to 5 can actually make you even more hungry and make you realize that, you know what, like well, if you know that, you maybe want to be an entrepreneur one day and, branch out, it can actually make you more hungry to go out there and chase it. And something that I learned from, I believe her name is Cody Sanchez. I was listening to a podcast that she was on, and essentially she was saying something to the effect of learn on their dime. So,
Wow.
when I think about that idea of learning on their dime, like after post secondary, you go and get yourself a 9 to 5, but you strategically place yourself within an organization that is going to allow you to, gain the skills or gain the knowledge that is required for you to then do your own side project, not even side project, but like your own hustle, your own,
Passion projects.
yeah, like passion project. Yeah, thank you for saying that instead. That can actually fuel even more ambition because, especially if you go to an organization that's already, like top 500 or anything like that, like that right there, you're already seeing, some of the best processes. So that right there in and of itself can give you more ambition and more, ideas of how you can make your passion project, the best. So I think that is what my answer would be to that. I don't think it will, stifle your ambition. I think it should make you more ambitious. The idea of like, working for someone for a little bit, adding value somewhere else, and then in return taking that skill and then adding value to the world yourself. I
Mm,
think that's why I think it can fuel ambition. Going
mm.
back to the college question is kind of just a matter of how you frame it.
Correct. Correct. I love what you said. I think to bring that a little bit further, or to synthesize it in a way, I would talk about exposure, right? When you think about, you mentioned working at Fortune 500 companies and so on and so forth, what you get is exposure, right?
Yeah.
So when you go about choosing a job or who you want to work with or you want to work for, what you get out of it is a training platform or a training ground, right? Especially if if you have less than 10 years of experience, arguably these experiences, these works, these jobs that you'll have will give you access to higher quality problems, higher quality deals. You'll be surrounded with folks that arguably are the best and brightest at what it is that they do, right? So how can you frame it that way so that when you step into these environments, you're a sponge, learning as much as possible, right? And little by little, that will also fuel your ambition because you'll be exposed to a higher ceiling
Mm-hmm.
that you can reframe and see how you can also provide value.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So next question that I have for you right here is is Toronto truly the best city in the world, or is it just overhyped? One more time. Is Toronto truly the best city in the world, or is it just overhyped?
I believe that Toronto is the best city in the world, but I have not traveled, all across the world. So, to say it, I might sound a little biased right now. But to me, Toronto is the best city in the world simply due to the fact that everybody knows that it's a melting pot. Just the fact that you get exposure to so many different types of people, that will already put you ahead of a lot of other folks, like just across the world, especially folks who are not getting that same exposure. So already it makes you more culturally aware. On top of that, companies are starting to realize that Toronto actually might be a good spot for us to set up an office. So we do know that it is one of the top 20 mega cities to live in the world. So that says something. And then if we're thinking culturally, personally I think that we produce like a lot of great talent in terms of like the people in the creative space, whether it be through music, whether it be through acting, or even just like art, just
Mm,
like plain old art in general.
mm,
And I think what's interesting, or fashion as well. Um, but I think what's interesting though is like we have that spirit of like kind of like the underdog, and I think that is what makes us one of the best. It's like we're always in a position where we have to kind of prove ourselves, and all of us are aware of this idea that
mm,
we kind of like the odds are kind of stacked against us. So it's like we got to play a little bit. We have to like go a little bit harder just to
mm,
keep up with like the American market. And I think that's what makes us like the best city, one of the best in the world, because despite us being so behind and having way less resources and somewhat of a lack of infrastructure, there's a lot of Toronto creatives who have made it really far and made it out, and Toronto entrepreneurs in the city, and there's a lot of people who made it really far, and there's still so much more further that everyone can go, and I believe it's only a matter of time, and I'm gonna manifest this and put this out there, but I'll be an example of that, in the near
mm.
future. So
Preach.
time will tell.
Great, nice. Yeah, I like what you said, and I think that it's cool, but I feel like it's a very North American perspective because from the outside world, right, people look towards or look up to North America as a whole. Yes, we know that the U.S.
Yeah,
is seen as the mecca of business and marketing and so on, but a lot of these good attributes pour into Canada because people tend to sometimes bundle U.S. and Canada together. So from the outside, or from a global perspective, Canada still benefit from that high quality, high performance, high level corporate culture, right? It's still viewed,
fair enough.
very in a good light. And you also see, the Drakes and so on having to leave Canada. Canadian talent is often leaving Canada, going to the U.S., and then they're coming back, right? And that's one of the things, right, that people ask themselves when it comes to developing their career, right? Is staying in Canada a bad idea for me? How long is staying too long, and so on and so forth. So definitely, I still think there's a lot of upside. You talked about infrastructure and things
Yeah,
and so on and so forth. I think there's still a lot of upside for Canadian development as a whole. It's still a small city, small market.
yeah,
Although it's one of the three major cities in Canada, there's still a lot of upside. But anyways, I love it. It's been a great time here so far. But yeah, it also shows it's an opportunity for us to build these things in Canada for it to flourish, right?
Yeah. So now I know that you have, traveled, like to
Mm.
many places and even lived in many places around the world. So just before we wrap up, like what is your take on that? Like do you, in your honest opinion, like what is your take on whether or not Toronto is the best city in the world? You've been to like a lot
Yeah,
of like, major capital cities.
yeah,
So why did you choose to study here?
yeah. That's great.
Sorry, like now I'm asking two questions, like, but I'm curious. Aren't you guys curious? Like,
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I
yeah,
think that fundamentally, Canada has a lot to offer. Toronto, more specifically, has a lot to offer from the sense that it's a great stomping ground, right?
yeah,
It's a great stomping ground for whatever you want to do next. You can have access to high quality deals. There's less competition,
hmm,
and you can then leverage those later on to sell your value to other people because you'll have those symbols
yeah,
stamped in Canada, right? Still a North American,
yeah,
place. So the caliber of those logos that you would have accumulated in whatever it is you do will go further than
yeah,
if you had done them anywhere else, arguably. So that's one reason: competition and quality of opportunities. Third reason would be I'm bilingual, right? I'm
yeah,
French. I mean, I speak French, and I'm French as well, and I also speak English, right? If you're bilingual in a market like Toronto, you're valued very highly, right? You
yeah,
can charge a premium for whatever it is that you do. So from a strategic standpoint, that's another thing, right? How can I bring more value to the marketplace? I'm bilingual.
yeah,
Boom. That's one thing. There's so many reasons, man. Toronto, when you look at it, when I came here 7 years ago already, it wasn't necessarily what it is today, but I've seen the growth. I've seen the growth. I see more businesses coming in. I see more opportunities rising. So, in a sense, it allows me to pour into the ecosystem,
yeah,
see things grow. Uh, as I mentioned, you can. It's a smaller market, so you can network with people and move things easier, right? I've built nonprofit
yeah,
organizations. I've had support from major organizations and so on and so forth. And if I was in the U.S., maybe or maybe not, I would have been able to have the impact that I had,
yeah,
right? But by leveraging everything that I have here in Canada, I've been able to double down on my impact, you know, create many ventures, connect with anybody really, right?
yeah.
Because as you know, everybody knows each other,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
then I forgot to mention that. That is one of the best parts about the city.
Yeah.
You're
So
literally like just one mutual away for the most part
yeah,
from whoever
man,
you want to get connected with.
that's the beautiful part. So hopefully, we all take advantage of that, milk the most of the experience of whatever it is we is, whether it be Paris, London, uh, Toronto, New York. Just look from a strategic standpoint. How can you go about maximizing your opportunities, maximizing your growth, maximizing your opportunities? From a strategic standpoint, use the tools that you have, the chat GPTs, the Claude AIs, the Gemini, and so on and so forth to help map out your growth, your career development, your personal development, contextual within the location in which you find yourself. So yeah, that's what I would say, man.
Yeah, well, honestly, you definitely touched on a lot of solid points, and that is all that we have for you guys today. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to the Great Enablement short little segment. We will definitely be dropping more videos along the way. And with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
And share with whoever you think this will be valuable to. Peace.